Umbrella Academy, the superhero family. Numbers for names. Lots of montages. Quiet dialogue. You listen to Umbrella Academy on earbuds? You crazy? Hello, I'm Elon Osborne and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about movies, audio, and music. But more specifically, I like to review the TV shows and movies that you watch, but with a twist. I listen to them on my smartphone, like it's an enhanced audiobook. Still confused? Check this out immediately! But in a nutshell, unlock your phone. Go to a streaming platform like Netflix. Choose what you want to watch. Select the audio settings, tap on audio description, lock your phone, which temporarily stops the audio, then press play from your lock screen and voila! I know what some of you are thinking. Wait, isn't audio description for like blind people? Yes, but this isn't me being insensitive. I know this feature is typically used by the visually impaired, but I'm not visually impaired, so I might miss some aspects of how this audio feature is typically used. Or I might miss some details of a show or a movie that just go in one ear and out the other. So I want this channel to be a kind and friendly community, visually impaired or not, where we can all come together and discuss the movies and TV shows that we love. So thanks for being here. Before we get into the innards of the episode, let's give a little shout out to the audio department.
Try again.
Let's give it a little shout out to the audio department of the Umbrella Academy. On IMDb, there wasn't a supervising sound editor on the list. So I went with John Snyder, who happened to be the sound designer, sound editor for the entire series. He's had quite the television career, most known for his work in Man in the High Castle, American Crime Story, Glee, and Dexter. Thanks, John. I'm sure you don't get a lot of shout outs, so here's to you and everyone else in the audio department of the Umbrella Academy. Much love. Well, that's just fine and dandy, but what about the music? The composer for the Umbrella Academy is Jeff Russo, and that dude is busy. He's most known for composing the scores for Fargo, the TV series, Star Trek Picard, the new one, and Star Trek Discovery, also the new one. But here's a quick list of others that he's done just in the last 4 years. Counterpart, Santa Clarita Diet, The Act, Lucifer, Legion, Snowfall, Treadstone, Power, and Altered Carbon. Whew! Like I said, busy. Since one of the main characters in the show is a violinist, the score tends to be very classical. The music is very traditional orchestra, not a lot of electronic elements whatsoever. Although every once in a while, the score itself will become very pop rock driven with a drum kit and bass and guitars.
Saxophone.
So for the most part, if you like to listen to soundtracks, the Umbrella Academy is probably one you want to check out. But since this show feels like it's something you would see on the CW, it has some questionable licensed songs that are thrown into the mix. But not just the song choices, some of the moments where the songs are
Lizards.
But not just the song choices. The decisions to have music in a certain scene at all is sometimes odd. Truth be told, I remember back when I was in high school that I envisioned an action scene in a bowling alley. Like it was one of the things that I just really hoped that I could do someday. So when I found out that there was an action scene in a bowling alley, I couldn't wait to see how they pulled it off or how they portrayed it. That is until I heard SATURDAY, night. I go into the music a lot more detailed.
Grammar is hard, man.
I go into
trances.
I go into my thoughts about the music in a lot more detail on my Patreon page.
Yeah.
So don't forget to check that out, where I take some highlights from listening to the entire season and decide to play you some of those highlights.
Sure.
So moving on, let's play
One skill, a natural to robot. It sounded like this. Robot.
Diego fights with athletic trained moves. A bad guy slams into a family portrait. Elsewhere, an elegant woman walks on a red carpet in front of a crowd of photographers. Number 3, Allison.
Yeah, just another robotic audio description. As if I told Siri to tell me what was going on. Now, let's get into the...
Excuse
In the first 10 minutes of the show, there is so much world building that happens that it feels a bit overwhelming, especially if you're just listening to it and the audio describer is trying to keep up with everything that's happening on screen.
Nope.
Let's introduce this character over here. They have a personality that's kind of like this. Oh, and what about this character? They seem pretty cool, right? Moving on. Because here's another crazy sibling in this family with superpowers. Whoa! I honestly felt sorry for the audio describer because she had to say so much in such a short little time to try and keep you up to speed with what was going on. Like drinking out of a fire hose, am I right? I mean, yes, they all had to come back to where they grew up because there was a death in the family. I understand that. But since the entire story is told over 10 episodes, instead of force feeding me all this backstory in the first 10 minutes, how about you just kind of gradually spread it out and do some flashbacks, which they do to a degree, but there had to be a better way, right? But specifically talking about the audio, one critique that I have is the dialogue mixing. Throughout this
Existence called life.
Throughout the season, there were points where it was really hard to hear the dialogue in the mix with all the other sound effects or just ambient noises going on. I found it a little bit annoying that I kind of had to ride the volume because I would turn it up during some scenes because the dialogue was so quiet, and then action would pick up and it'd be super loud. But on top of that, sometimes the dialogue was so quiet and then the audio describer would interject and she was super loud compared to the dialogue. So just having to ride the audio levels and turn it down, turn it up, turn it down, it was pretty annoying throughout the entire first season. It sure is nice to be able to set the volume and forget about it, but I found myself going, wait, what did they just say? So then I'd have to rewind it. If you make me rewind something, you fail. This is another one of the shows that I
Listen to while punch dancing.
This is another show that I have only listened to. I have not seen this show on Netflix. I've only listened to it as an audio stream. And honestly, at this point, I don't really plan on watching it because I didn't really enjoy it. I guess the silver lining is it got to a point maybe around episode 7 where I at least wanted to know where the story progressed by the end. So I thought, if I got this far, I might as well finish the first season. Although, truth be told, it was pretty predictable where it was headed. And as I kind of mentioned previously, this show did suffer from what I call the CW formula, where they end every episode with licensed music with a montage. It can have a tremendous effect when done sparingly and correctly. Don't get me wrong about that. But when every episode ends by going, hey, look at all these plot lines interwoven, and let's show you a montage of all this stuff going on. And let's sum up all the emotions going on between these characters by playing insert song title here. Don't you like it? Doesn't this song just perfectly fit with what these characters are feeling right now? Soundtrack available on iTunes or stream exclusively on Spotify.
Give us money now.
So, do I recommend The Umbrella Academy as an audio streaming experience? Not really. I barely made it through the first season. There were several moments where it took all of my patience to try and slog through an episode. But I stuck with it, taking one for the team. For you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah. It just wasn't made for me, you know? And that's okay. So if you're already a fan of The Umbrella Academy and you want to revisit it in a new way, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. So there you have it. Don't forget to check out the Patreon content that I made for this, where I go over some highlights, or honestly some lowlights mostly, and critiques that I had to talk about during listening to this entire season. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you haven't tried audio streaming a TV show or movie yet, what are you waiting for? What is wrong with you? As always, don't forget to have
Breakfast, the most important meal.
As always, don't forget to do a friend predictor, skibidi-ba, la la la. And as always, don't forget to give a friendly hello to somebody you know or don't know who is visually impaired. And of course, always keep listening.
I got merch. Link in description. I got Bandcamp. Link in description. I got a Patreon. Link in description. I got Etsy. Link in description. I got a kid's book. Link in description. And don't forget, always be listening.